Hello, friend. So glad you're here tonight. Get comfortable, pull the covers up, and let the day loosen its grip. There's nowhere else you need to be. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe and tap the like button on tonight's video. Both are free, they take 2 seconds, and they help this channel more than you'd think. And you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. Tonight's question is a quiet one. How did soldiers actually sleep night after night without heating? The answer is slower and stranger than you might expect, and every piece of it is real. There is nothing to do here and nothing to remember. If you fall asleep before the answer is finished, that is exactly how this is meant to work. Settle in and let your breathing slow down. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app, built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it, it should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. In the dead of night, they took to the skies. Night witches, Soviet women pilots, soared above in their Polikarpov Po-2 biplanes. The cold wind bit at their cheeks as they flew low and slow over German trenches, dropping bombs with pinpoint accuracy. Their planes were made of wood and fabric, designed for reconnaissance rather than combat, yet they served a vital role in the war effort. The drone of their engines was barely audible to those on the ground, only the whistle of their bombs giving away their position. They flew without heaters or navigational aids, relying solely on their skill and determination. As dawn approached, they would land back at base, ready to do it all again come nightfall. Their breaths misted in the frigid air as they peered through the darkness, using the dim light of the moon to navigate. The plane shuddered slightly with each gust of wind, forcing them to maintain a constant vigilance. Despite the chill, sweat trickled down their spines as they held their course, trusting in the sturdiness of their simple craft. Their gloved hands gripped the controls, fingers tingling with cold as they guided the plane through the night. The windscreen was often fogged with frost, their breath freezing on the glass before them. Each bomb dropped sent a jolt through the fuselage, as if the plane itself was sighing in relief. They could taste the wood and fabric of the plane, the smell of oil and cold air filling their nostrils. Camps were established for purposes of training, often lingering beyond a single night. They constructed these spaces to simulate the realities of battle, with tents and temporary structures dotting the landscape. The sounds of drills echoed through the air, punctuated by the occasional command from an instructor. In these environments, soldiers learned the rudiments of survival in harsh conditions. The cold nipped at their noses as they huddled around small fires, a stark contrast to the warmth of home. They practiced the art of creating makeshift shelters, digging into the earth for protection. These camps were not merely overnight stops, but immersive experiences designed to prepare them for the world they would face. The wind howled, whipping the tents and causing embers to dance wildly. Soldiers huddled closer together for warmth, their breaths visible in the chilly night air. The scent of wood smoke filled their nostrils, a constant reminder of the fire's necessity. Their hands, rough from labor, carefully fed the flames, ensuring their only source of heat lasted through the long night. Their eyes adjusted to the flickering light, shadows dancing across their tired faces. The ground beneath them was hard and unforgiving, each jutting pebble etching itself into their memories. Their clothing, damp from earlier rains, clung to them like a second skin, making the chill all the more biting. Each inhale of smoke brought a stinging to their eyes, a constant reminder of the harsh conditions they faced. Their fingers ached from gripping the cold metal of their utensils as they ate rations by the firelight. The night air carried the faint sound of distant wildlife, their calls eerie in the silence between drills. Their bodies trembled slightly with each gust of wind, the drafts finding every gap in their clothing. They could feel the weight of their packs on their shoulders, a constant reminder of the gear they must carry into battle. Soldiers Grove was a town in the state of Wisconsin. They endured the cold, their breaths visible in the crisp air. Their hands worked to construct shelters from available materials. The sounds of hammering and sawing filled the chill morning. They wrapped themselves in blankets, the warmth a temporary respite. The ground beneath was hard and unyielding. They huddled together for what little heat they could share. The night brought silence, the wind howling softly outside their makeshift homes. Their fingers grew numb with the cold, each movement a slow dance of pain and necessity. The wind found every gap in their shelters, its icy breath chilling them to the bone. Their breaths misted up inside their blankets, creating tiny clouds of condensation that dripped onto their faces. The faint smell of smoke from distant fires offered little comfort, a tease of warmth amidst the relentless freeze. Their eyes watered from the biting wind, each blink a struggle against frost. The frost on their blankets crunched softly with each slight movement, a constant reminder of the bitter cold. Their noses turned red and raw, the chill seeping into their bones. The fire inside their bodies flickered low, struggling to keep them warm in the unforgiving night. Their lips cracked and bled in the frigid air, each small movement of the mouth a sharp reminder of the cold. Their bodies trembled involuntarily, an endless dance to generate heat that never seemed enough. The faint light of dawn offered little hope, the sun, a distant memory lost behind heavy clouds. The weight of their blankets felt like a shroud, each layer a futile barrier against the relentless winter night. In the cold and harsh environment of their captivity, the Germans held 2 million French soldiers as prisoners of war. These men endured the bitter chill of nights spent in makeshift shelters with only thin blankets to protect them from the frost that clung to the ground. Their days were filled with the monotonous rhythm of labor and the ever-present hum of guards patrolling the camp. The air was thick with the scent of wood smoke from distant fires, a reminder of the meager warmth they could only dream of. Rations were scant, leaving their bellies often hollow, while the constant drizzle of rain seeped into their clothes and bedding, adding to their discomfort. Yet, amidst this stark reality, there remained a sense of camaraderie among these prisoners, a silent bond forged in shared adversity. Their breaths hung visible in the air like wisps of smoke as they huddled together for warmth. The rough texture of their clothing was a constant irritant against their skin, chafing at each movement. Each step through the muddy terrain felt heavy and laborious, their bodies weakened by malnourishment. The silent watchfulness of the guards was ever present, like an unseen weight pressing down on them. Their hands, once rough from years of labor, now felt like brittle twigs, easily bruised and cracked. Each inhale brought a harsh bite to the throat, a constant reminder of the cold's relentless grip. The dim light of dawn revealed frost-covered beards, the tiny ice crystals glinting like glass shards on their chins. As the days wore on, their boots, once sturdy and reliable, now bore gaping holes letting in the biting chill that numbed their toes. Soldiers lived in cramped, often unsanitary conditions. The cold seeped into their bones as they huddled together for warmth. They shared close quarters with little room to move. Dirt and grime clung to their skin, a constant reminder of their surroundings. The smell of sweat and damp earth filled the air. Their routines were dictated by necessity, not comfort. The sound of coughs echoed through the night, a grim reminder of their fragile health. They slept on hard ground, their bodies aching from the lack of softness. Each day brought new challenges, but they endured, finding solace in the simple act of rest. Their blankets, thin and worn, offered little respite from the chill. Each breath taken was visible in the frigid air. The faint light of dawn revealed the frost that had settled on their beards. Their boots, caked with mud, were too stiff to remove. Their clothes, damp from the previous day's rain, provided no warmth as they lay down to sleep. The dim lantern light cast long, dancing shadows across their faces. The distant echo of cannon fire was a constant, unsettling reminder of the battlefield beyond. A weak tea brewed over a small flame did little to ease their chills. Their fingers and toes were numb from the cold, the blood barely reaching the extremities. The faint scent of smoke lingered in their clothes from the fire used to heat their rations. Their bodies shivered involuntarily as they lay there, the ground beneath them dampening any remaining warmth. The soft murmurs of those attempting to sleep mingled with the distant howls of wolves. In the midst of their world, they found themselves with rations often meager, canned goods and dried foods were their staples. They huddled together, seeking warmth in each other's presence. The cold bit at them, a constant reminder of their surroundings. Their meals were simple affairs, no grand feasts to be had. Canned beans or peas, perhaps, the tinny sounds echoing through the quiet of their camp. Dried fruits and nuts provided a small burst of sweetness in an otherwise bland existence. The crackle of opening a can, the rustle of a package, these were the sounds that marked their mealtimes. They ate slowly, savouring each bite, for they knew not when their next meal would come. Their stomachs grumbled softly, but they found comfort in the routine, in the simple act of nourishing themselves amidst the chaos around them. Their teeth crunched the dried fruits, a small rebellion against the soft textures of their usual fare. The cold air made their breath visible as they talked softly over their meal, voices barely above a whisper. They used their fingers to scoop up every last bit of food from the cans, ensuring nothing went to waste. The night sky watched over them, a silent witness to their simple meals and quiet endurance. The tin spoon clinked softly against the can as they scraped out the last remnants of food. The fire, if they had one, cast long, dancing shadows across their faces, painting fleeting warmth on their cold cheeks. Their breath misted in the air, mingling with the faint smoke from the fire, creating a gentle haze around them. The night was silent, save for the distant howl of the wind, an eerie lullaby that accompanied their meagre meal. Draft notices were the call to arms for millions of young men during World War II. In the quiet of their homes, these papers would arrive, a silent summons to duty. They would read the words, feeling the weight of the paper in their hands, knowing that their lives were about to change forever. The chill of the morning air would meet them as they stepped outside, draft notice in hand, ready to join the ranks. In the distance, the rumble of trains could be heard, carrying other young men to their destinations. Their hearts would pound gently as they awaited their turn, the world around them slowing down for this momentous event. The sound of the train's whistle would signal their departure, leaving behind the familiar comforts of home for the unknown journey ahead. Their breaths misted in the cool air as they stood on the platform, the scent of coal and oil clinging to their clothes. The wind rustled the leaves of the nearby trees, whispering secrets of the world beyond their small towns. Each man held his hat firmly, a final touch of normalcy before the chaos that awaited them. Their mothers' tears stained their jackets, a silent reminder of the love and life they left behind. Their boots felt heavier with each step towards the train, as if the earth itself were reluctant to let them go. The sunlight seemed dimmer than usual, casting long shadows that stretched out like welcoming arms. The breeze carried whispers of goodbyes and promises, floating away into the vast, uncertain sky. Their hands gripped their bags tighter, a final grasp at the remnants of home they still held onto. In the streets of cities, recruitment posters hung on walls, their messages urging young men to enlist. They spoke with a voice that was patriotic and earnest, calling out to passers-by with bold words and vibrant colours. The posters were a constant presence, a reminder that something significant was underway, drawing the attention of those who walked beneath them. They were placed strategically, where eyes would naturally fall, in busy intersections and near crowded shops. In the evenings, when lamplight cast long shadows, these posters still held sway over the minds of those who paused to read their words. And so they stood, day after day, a silent plea echoing through the streets, calling for courageous hearts to answer. Their eyes scanned the lines of text, taking in each word as if it held a secret worth uncovering. The posters' edges curled slightly with age and weather, adding to their worn yet compelling appearance. They blended seamlessly into the urban landscape, becoming almost invisible until they caught the light just so, drawing attention once more. In quiet moments between the city's bustle, people might stop to read them again, feeling a subtle pull towards the call to action. Beneath the glow of gas lamps, the posters seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light, their messages beckoning like whispers from another time. The rustle of paper in the breeze became a soft plea, heard only by those who stopped to listen. Each day brought new faces to the streets, some glancing at the posters with curiosity, others with determination etched into their features. In the quiet corners of taverns and cafes, conversations turned to the words on the wall, each person adding their own interpretation to the call for action. In the quiet of their world, soldiers wore dog tags around their necks. These small metal plaques held crucial details: a name, a service number, and the vital information of blood type. They were simple, cold to the touch, but essential in case the unthinkable happened. The sound of metal against metal was a constant reminder of their presence. Each tag, though small, carried weight beyond its size. It was a quiet companion on long nights, a silent witness to their experiences. The tags hung heavy on the chest, a subtle tug with each breath taken. The engraved letters and numbers were smooth to the fingertips, worn by time and sweat. They clanked softly against one another during marches, creating an unusual harmony in the otherwise silent formation. In the dark, their faint glow from moonlight cast eerie shadows on the faces of those who bore them. They were often tucked beneath clothing, hidden from view but always felt, a secret weight known only to the wearer. The edges could chafe against skin, leaving faint marks that faded with each passing day. They echoed the rhythm of footsteps, a steady beat that resonated through the body. When removed, they left behind an empty space, a ghostly imprint on the chest. The cool metal against warm skin offered a stark contrast, grounding the wearer in reality amidst chaos. They were often brushed with calloused thumbs, feeling for the familiar indentations of name and blood type. Each movement brought a subtle jingle, a comforting soundtrack to their solitary nights under the stars. The weight was both reassuring and burdensome, a tangible reminder of their duty and the risks they faced. Leeches were a constant problem for soldiers in Vietnam, attaching themselves to any exposed skin. They would crawl across the damp ground, seeking out warmth and moisture. The soldiers tried to keep their skin covered, but it was not always possible. Leeches could slit through small openings in clothing, or even bite through fabric if given enough time. Sometimes, they were only discovered after causing an irritating itch. Soldiers would have to carefully remove them, trying not to leave behind any parts that might cause further irritation. The slightest touch of a leech felt like an electric shock, as it latched onto the skin with tiny teeth. They could sense body heat from several feet away, homing in on their target with uncanny precision. The leech's bodies were soft and supple, allowing them to wriggle through even the smallest gaps in clothing or gear. Once attached, they secreted a mild anesthetic, making it difficult for the soldiers to feel anything other than the initial bite. Their blood would pool in the leech's translucent body, a telltale sign of its meal. Soldiers often found several leeches on their bodies at once, each one swollen and dark with blood. The tiny wounds left behind by the leeches could become infected if not properly cared for, adding to the soldiers' discomfort in the humid environment. The constant dampness of the jungle made it impossible to escape their relentless pursuit. Soldiers would often feel them moving, a subtle but unsettling sensation on the skin. Their bodies were smooth and slippery, making removal difficult without causing more harm. Sometimes, a small part of the leech would remain embedded in the skin, leading to persistent irritation. Soviet soldiers during World War II often found themselves sleeping in trenches, deep within forests, or even directly on the snow. The ground beneath them was hard and unforgiving, yet they sought what little comfort it offered. German soldiers, it was said, had better rations, their provisions more hearty and plentiful than those of the Soviets. But in the quiet of night, with the wind whispering through bare trees, all soldiers were equally vulnerable to the cold. They would huddle together for warmth, the sound of their breaths mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. The snow crunched under them as they shifted positions, trying to find a semblance of ease amidst the discomfort. Yet, despite the harsh conditions, sleep eventually claimed them, a brief respite from the day's battles. Their bodies ached from the day's march, but they found some solace in the gentle sway of the branches above. Every movement was deliberate and slow, conserving what little energy remained. The frost crept into their bones, but the exhaustion was deeper still, pulling them closer to sleep. Their breaths hung in the air like tiny clouds, dissipating slowly as they exhaled into the frosty night. Their fingers and toes were numb from the biting chill, but their minds drifted away from the pain, seeking refuge in dreams of home. The moon cast eerie shadows on the snow, dancing with each breeze, creating a silent ballet that no one watched. Their heavy boots sank into the snowpack, leaving them feeling grounded, rooted to this harsh yet familiar world. In the quiet of a World War II night, they sought refuge in tents. These were no simple cloths draped over poles. They were sturdy, weather-resistant shelters designed to protect from the elements. They unfolded these tents on cold, hard ground, the earth beneath them offering little warmth. The sound of canvas rustling filled the air as they settled in for the night, a routine familiar to soldiers across different theatres of war. These tents were their temporary homes, providing a semblance of safety amidst the chaos of battle. They would huddle together inside, their breaths visible in the chilly air, seeking warmth from one another as they drifted off to sleep. Their sleeping bags, thin but durable, served as a barrier against the unyielding earth. They zipped them up to their chins, trapping the warmth of their bodies within. A small stove nearby cast an orange glow, offering comfort and a sense of security. Outside, the wind howled softly, its distant song a reminder of the world beyond their temporary sanctuary. The fabric of the tent whispered softly with each gust of wind, a lullaby sung by the night. The air inside was damp and heavy, a silent guardian against the cold. Their bodies pressed close together, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle fitting perfectly into place. Morning would come too soon, but for now, sleep was their only sanctuary. The tent's interior smelled of damp wool and faint tobacco smoke from their uniforms. A dim light filtered through the canvas, casting long shadows on the wall. The fabric creaked gently with each shift of their bodies, creating a rhythmic soundtrack to their restless sleep. Their boots, placed neatly at the tent's entrance, stood sentinel against the unknown. Tents varied in size among the soldiers, ranging from small pup tents to larger ones that could accommodate multiple men. They were simple yet functional, providing a measure of shelter against the elements. The smaller pup tents offered just enough space for one or two, a cozy refuge in the vast outdoors. Larger tents, though more cramped with additional bodies, provided a sense of camaraderie. Cold nights were met with layered blankets and shared body heat. The fabric of the tents rustled softly in the breeze, a comforting sound against the backdrop of nature's quiet symphony. Their routines became second nature, setting up camp, securing the tent flaps, and settling in for the night. The cold ground was cushioned by thin pallets, a simple barrier between them and the earth. Despite the simplicity, these tents offered a sense of security and familiarity amidst the unpredictability of their surroundings. The flickering light of a lantern cast long shadows on the tent walls, creating a dance of darkness and light. The scent of damp earth mingled with the faint smell of smoke from their small campfire. A gentle patter of rain against the canvas lulled them into sleep, while the low hum of distant thunder provided a sense of comfort in the night's embrace. The rhythmic sound of the raindrops on the tent roof gradually slowed to a peaceful trickle, signaling the passing of the storm. The small campfire's embers glowed steadily, their warmth radiating into the night air. A faint glow from the lantern, barely visible beneath the blankets, provided a sense of safety in the dark. The gentle swaying of the tent with each breeze was a soothing lullaby, rocking the men to sleep. In the barracks of olden times, they housed multiple soldiers together in close quarters. These structures were often overcrowded, with many men sharing the same space. The floors would creak under the weight of so many feet, echoing the sounds of boots and the low murmurs of conversation. Blankets were laid out on wooden bunks, each one barely providing enough room for a single person. They would huddle together for warmth during cold nights, their breaths creating small clouds in the air. The air was thick with the smell of sweat and wood smoke from the nearby fireplace. A single, dim lantern cast long shadows on the worn walls, barely illuminating the space. The silence was broken only by the occasional snore or rustle of fabric as someone shifted in their sleep. Outside, the wind howled through the narrow windows, bringing with it the chill of the night. The damp air clung to their skin like a second blanket, making every movement feel heavy and sluggish. The thin mattresses did little to cushion the hard wood beneath, each lump and knot pressing into their backs. A faint glow from the embers in the hearth flickered across the ceiling, casting a dance of light and dark that swayed with the draft. The room's temperature fluctuated with the fire, creating an uneven warmth that made sleep fitful and restless. the straw ticking in their mattresses crunched under each turn, a subtle reminder of the comforts they left behind. Dewdrops formed on the bare metal of their bed frames, growing heavier as the night deepened. The occasional rat scuttled across the rafters above, its tiny claws clicking softly against old wood. A distant clock tower struck the hour, each chime echoing through the quiet like a whispered secret. In the chill of night, during the Napoleonic era, soldiers found brief respite in sleep, snatching 2 to 3 hours whenever duty permitted. They lay on the cold ground, bodies pressed close together for warmth. The foxholes they dug offered little protection from the elements, but the walls provided a barrier against the biting wind. Blankets were scarce, and many slept in their uniforms, the wool offering some insulation. The routine was grueling, with sleep often interrupted by the call to duty. Yet, in those fleeting moments of rest, they closed their eyes, seeking solace in the simple act of sleep. Their breaths mingled in the frigid air, forming faint clouds that dissipated quickly. The constant hum of their bodies helped keep the chill at bay. A thin layer of frost formed on their blankets, glinting softly under the moonlight. Their muscles ached from the day's exertions, yearning for the deeper rest they could not afford. Their bodies grew still, save for the slow rise and fall of their chests. Each inhale was a whisper, each exhale a puff of mist. The earth beneath them was unyielding, offering no comfort but holding them close nonetheless. The moon cast long shadows that danced with the wind, painting ephemeral patterns on their faces. The faint scent of wood smoke lingered in the air, a reminder of distant campfires. Their hands, clenched into fists, sought the warmth of their armpits. Eyes fluttered closed as the weight of weariness settled over them. The wind carried the rustle of leaves, a lullaby for their weary souls. World War I soldiers adapted to peculiar sleep patterns, snatching brief respites in their foxholes. They knew the importance of vigilance, often sleeping for just a few hours each night. The cold ground and damp conditions did not deter them from their duty. In the stillness of the night, they huddled together, seeking warmth and comfort in one another's presence. The sounds of battle echoed in the distance, yet they found moments of respite amidst the chaos. Their bodies ached for more sleep, but the necessity of staying alert kept them from drifting off completely. In World War II, soldiers faced even greater challenges, enduring unprecedented sleep deprivation that led to combat fatigue. Yet, in those quiet moments between battles, they too found solace in the simple act of resting their weary heads. Their eyelids grew heavy as sandbags, each blink a struggle against the weight of weariness. The creaking of nearby machinery blended with distant artillery fire to form an odd lullaby, one that could neither soothe nor stir. Beneath their helmets, damp hair clung to scalps slick with sweat and grime. A faint glimmer from a half-buried lantern cast long, dancing shadows on the trench walls, creating an eerie, ever-shifting sanctuary. Their breaths misted in the chill air, a soft exhalation of warmth that mingled with the fog. Each shiver brought another layer of their greatcoats closer, binding them together in a shared embrace. The earth beneath yielded slightly to their tired forms, offering a meager cushion against the unforgiving terrain. A distant whine of aircraft pierced the night, a haunting reminder that even in sleep they were never truly at peace. In the quiet of their day, in a place called Where They Slept, bedrolls were how many soldiers found some rest. These bedrolls, simple and rolled up tightly, provided a slight barrier against the cold ground beneath them. With no heating, they'd unfurl these cloth or blanket rolls to lie on. In makeshift shelters too, these bedrolls offered comfort, a small piece of home in a strange land. The routine was quiet, the sounds minimal, just the rustling of fabric as they settled in for the night. No fancy materials here, just what was available and could be carried easily. It was enough to provide some respite from the day's hardships. Underneath the stars or the shelter's roof, their breath visible in the cold air, these soldiers found a moment of peace. Their eyes would close slowly as the steady rhythm of their breathing matched the gentle swaying of the bedrolls. The faint scent of wool and dried grass filled the air, a familiar comfort from home. A thin layer of dew sometimes formed on the outer fabric, adding a hint of chill that they had come to expect. Occasionally, a soft snore would mingle with the distant hum of night insects, creating an atmosphere of shared tranquility. Their limbs grew heavy with fatigue, sinking deeper into the bedrolls as the night wore on. The soft glow of a distant campfire cast long shadows across their faces, creating a sense of security amidst the darkness. The wind picked up slightly, causing the bedrolls to flutter gently against their backs, a rhythmic lullaby that eased them further into sleep. A faint chill crept in from the edges of the bedrolls, but the warmth generated by their bodies kept them cocooned and safe. Camps were often set up with tents or temporary structures to provide shelter for soldiers. In the quiet of the night, these simple accommodations offered a reprieve from the elements. The flaps of canvas tents rustled gently in the breeze, creating a soothing rhythm that helped to lull the soldiers to sleep. Inside, they would huddle together, sharing body heat to ward off the chill of the cold ground beneath them. The sound of distant raindrops pattering against the tent roof served as a comforting reminder of their temporary sanctuary. In this makeshift shelter, they found solace and respite from the harsh realities of war. The routine of setting up camp each evening became a familiar ritual, a small act of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic world. As the night wore on, the steady hum of whispered conversations and the occasional rustle of movement were the only sounds to break the silence. In this quiet haven, they could finally find some measure of rest. The faint glow of lanterns cast long shadows on the tent walls, creating a soft ambience that eased them into sleep. A subtle scent of wood smoke lingered in the air, a reminder of the small fire burning outside. The gentle swaying of the tents in the wind mimicked the rocking of a cradle, further soothing their weary bodies. Each slow breath they took seemed to synchronize with the rhythm of nature around them. The canvas above creaked softly with the weight of their dreams, muffling the occasional hoot of an owl outside. The subtle warmth from their bodies gradually filled the tent, easing the bite of the cool air. A faint glow from the moon peeked through the tent flaps, casting a delicate light on their faces. The faint smell of pine from the ground beneath provided a sense of familiarity and comfort. World War II soldiers were no strangers to sleep deprivation on the battlefield. They often found themselves in foxholes, surrounded by cold earth and little comfort. A study revealed how profoundly this lack of sleep affected their performance. Fatigue would set in, making it difficult for them to remain alert and focused. The constant sounds of war, from distant gunfire to nearby artillery, made it nearly impossible to find true rest. They would try to huddle together for warmth, but the cold still seeped in. Despite these hardships, they endured, driven by a sense of duty and a longing for peace. Their eyes would grow heavy under the weight of exhaustion, yet sleep eluded them as if it were a ghost they could not grasp. The wind whistled through the cracks in their makeshift shelters, carrying with it the chilling sounds of war that echoed within their minds. Their limbs grew numb from the cold, and their bodies ached for the comfort of a real bed. In those dark hours, the only solace they found was in the quiet moments between the chaos. Their blankets, damp from the cold and damp earth beneath them, offered little warmth. Every muscle in their bodies tensed at the slightest noise, anticipating danger that might never come. The darkness around them seemed to press in, making the tiny spaces feel even smaller. Breaths visible in the chilly air were the only sign of life within their still forms. Their fingers clutched at the hard earth beneath them, seeking purchase in the unyielding ground. Shadows cast by their helmets danced across the walls of their holes, mocking their attempts to rest. Eyes closed, they could still see the flashes of light from distant explosions through their lids, a constant reminder of the world outside. Infantrymen, the soldiers who fought on the ground, had a unique way of finding rest in their foxholes. They would dig these small shelters into the earth for protection during battle, but also to sleep in at night. The cold ground beneath them offered little comfort, but they made do with what they had. Often, they'd line their foxholes with whatever materials they could find, old blankets, scraps of cloth, even leaves from nearby trees. In the quiet of the night, the sound of distant artillery or the hooting of an owl were their lullabies. Their routine was simple but effective. Once the sun set and the fighting stopped, they'd crawl into their makeshift beds, pulling their greatcoats tight around them to keep out the chill. Morning would find them awake and ready, another day defending their country on the front lines. Their breaths would rise in the night air like thin wisps of smoke, visible only for a moment before dissolving into the darkness. Sometimes, a soft drizzle would patter on the roofs of their helmets, a gentle rhythm that could lull them further into sleep. In the silence between battles, the earth beneath them would seem to pulse with a distant heartbeat, echoing the rhythm of artillery fire heard earlier. And in those quiet moments before dawn, when the world was still and calm, the scent of damp soil and fading smoke from nearby fires would fill their dreams. The earth beneath their backs was firm yet yielding, like a memory of home. The weight of their packs felt less heavy when propped against the foxhole walls. A faint breeze carried whispers of the day's events, as if the wind itself was sharing secrets with them. Their minds drifted slowly towards sleep, each breath bringing them closer to the calm they craved. In the chill of night, field kitchens and mobile baths were used by soldiers for their daily needs. These makeshift structures provided warmth in the cold, a place to prepare meals under canvas coverings. The clanking of pots and pans would echo through the camp, a soothing rhythm of life amidst the harsh conditions. After long days of marching or battle, soldiers would find solace in the simple act of washing away the dirt and grime. Steam would rise from the mobile baths, creating a temporary sanctuary of warmth. Despite the missing comforts of home, these humble facilities offered a sense of normalcy in an otherwise chaotic world. The canvas walls of the mobile baths would flap gently in the breeze, letting in a draft that was both refreshing and biting. Soldiers would huddle around makeshift stoves after their wash, the heat radiating from the small fires providing a welcome respite from the night's chill. The simple act of drying off with rough-spun towels became a cherished ritual, each soldier taking his turn to step into the warm tent and emerge clean. The quiet hum of conversation amidst the rhythmic clanking of pots created a sense of community, a reminder that even in the harsh cold, they were not alone. The scent of wood smoke and soap mingled with the chill air, a comforting blend that filled the senses. Soldiers would cup their hands around steaming mugs of tea, the warmth seeping into frozen fingertips. A thin layer of frost clung to the canvas roofs, glinting under the faint glow of lanterns. The soft murmur of the wind against the fabric was a lullaby, soothing soldiers into a fitful sleep. Soldiers of the infantry, trained and equipped to fight on foot, would settle into their foxholes for the night. They would huddle down into the cold earth, their breath visible in the chilled air. The sounds of battle had quieted, replaced by the rustling of leaves overhead. Blankets, if they were lucky enough to have them, would be wrapped tightly around their shoulders. The ground beneath them was hard and unyielding, a stark contrast to the warmth and comfort of their beds back home. They would attempt to sleep, their bodies aching from the day's march and the weight of their gear. The night was long and silent, save for the occasional distant whisper of enemy movement. Their fingers and toes grew numb from the biting cold, despite the thick wool socks and gloves they wore. A faint smell of smoke lingered in the air, a reminder of the day's battles. The moon cast long shadows, making it hard to distinguish friend from foe. Their teeth chattered softly, creating a rhythm that echoed through the silent night. Their hearts pounded in their chests, not from exertion but from the cold's relentless grip. Their fingers fumbled with the warm buttons of their jackets, desperate to find warmth within layers. The wind howled softly, a ghostly whisper through the trees that sent shivers down their spines. Each breath drawn was like ice crystals forming in their lungs. Their eyelids grew heavy with exhaustion, yet sleep eluded them like a slippery eel. The cold crept into their bones, turning muscles to stone. Their minds wandered, seeking the warmth of distant memories. The night seemed endless, each hour stretched out like an eternity. Exhausted soldiers, huddled in their cold foxholes, were prone to mistakes and accidents, their operational capacity reduced. Their bodies shivered against the chilly earth, the blankets offering little warmth. The sound of distant artillery echoed through the night, a constant reminder of the danger that surrounded them. They tried to find comfort in the routine, passing around a canteen of water, the liquid feeling cold against their lips. Despite their best efforts, exhaustion took its toll, their minds foggy and slow. A single misstep could lead to disaster, each action needing extra caution. The cold air bit into their skin, making even the simplest tasks difficult. They longed for the warmth of a fire, the comfort of a bed, but there was only the hard ground and the thin blanket they clutched tightly. Their breaths turned to fog in the frigid air, each exhalation visible and fleeting. They could feel the cold seeping through their boots, their toes numb and aching. The wind howled softly, carrying with it the scent of smoke from distant fires, a taunting reminder of what they lacked. Their eyelids grew heavy, the weight of sleep pulling them down as the night wore on. Their fingers fumbled with the simple tasks of buttoning their coats and tying knots, the cold making them clumsy. Each breath was a laborious effort, their chests tightening as if squeezed by an unseen hand. The chill worked its way into their bones, a persistent ache that seemed to go deeper with each passing minute. Their vision blurred slightly, the edges of their sight becoming hazy as if shrouded in fog. In the quiet of cold nights, soldiers were taught essential skills. Marksmanship was a vital lesson they learned under the watchful eyes of their instructors. Tactics were discussed and practiced in hushed tones to avoid detection. Survival techniques became second nature as they adapted to the harsh conditions without modern comforts. They huddled together, sharing warmth in the frigid air. Routine drills echoed softly through the darkness, each movement precise and deliberate. The cold bit into their skin as they honed their abilities, focusing on the task at hand. Every sound was amplified in the stillness, heightening their senses. Their breath misted in the chilly air as they learned to endure without the luxuries of home. Their hands, numbed by the frost, gripped their rifles with increased determination. The moon's faint glow offered little respite from the darkness, forcing them to rely on instinct and memory. Each step they took left a crunch of snow beneath their boots, a constant reminder of their vulnerable presence. They learned to find solace in the familiar patterns of nature, using the rustling leaves or distant howls as subtle cues for action. Frost clung to their eyelashes as they blinked against the chill. Their fingers, stiff with cold, fumbled with rifle bolts in the dim light. A faint taste of iron lingered on their tongues from the metallic tang of the air. The wind whispered through their clothes, a constant companion in the silent training ground. The frost nipped at their noses and ears, a persistent chill that refused to let go. Snowflakes caught in their hair glistened like diamonds under the moonlight. Their fingers tingled with pins and needles as they regained some feeling from the cold. The silence of the night enveloped them, broken only by the occasional crackling of a distant fire. Medical personnel carried litters of wounded soldiers toward the rear near Loutrebois, Belgium. The town was blanketed in snow, the ground crunching beneath their boots with each careful step. They moved steadily, ensuring each jostle was minimal, mindful of the men they bore. The cold air bit at their noses and cheeks, but it was a distant thought compared to the tasks at hand. They wrapped the wounded tightly in blankets, shielding them from the elements as best they could. Each litter was supported by 2 pairs of hands, working together with quiet efficiency. The snowflakes continued to fall, accumulating on their shoulders and caps, but their focus remained unbroken. Their breaths formed clouds in the frigid air as they navigated the treacherous terrain. Each blanket-wrapped form was secured with careful precision, preventing any slippage. The weight of their burden was countered by the strength of their resolve, steadying each step. The silent fall of snow muffled all but the crunch of boots and the occasional distant rumble of artillery. Their fingers, numbed by the chill, still managed to grip the litter handles firmly. Gloves, though damp from snow and sweat, provided a barrier against the biting wind. The clinking of medical equipment in their bags was barely audible over the muffled sounds of battle. Each breath drawn in through the nose sent a sharp sting, yet it was bearable with each exhale releasing a warm, comforting cloud. Their eyes watered from the wind, yet they blinked away the tears to maintain clear vision. The weight of their pack shifted with each step, a constant reminder of the supplies they carried for treatment. Each breath was taken in shallow gulps, preserving energy and conserving warmth. Their boots left imprints in the snow, marking a trail that would soon be filled by the falling flakes. Archival photos capture the quiet moments of Red Army soldiers sleeping at the front. They lie bundled in their coats, heads resting on makeshift pillows, eyes closed to the world around them. The million soldiers across the total US. Army knew well the routine, the comfort found in the familiarity of their surroundings. The US. The US? Army Surgeon General's office ensured that care was provided even in these harsh conditions. The cold nipped at their noses, but they were accustomed to its bite. Their breaths misted slightly in the dark night air, a soft rhythm amidst the distant hum of activity. These moments of rest, brief and precious, offered respite from the day's labours. They huddled together, seeking warmth and safety in numbers. The darkness was their ally, shielding them from unseen dangers as they drifted off to sleep. Their boots, damp from the day's march, began to warm as their bodies radiated heat. The scent of pine needles and wood smoke from distant campfires filled the air, a comforting reminder of life beyond the front lines. A soft wind rustled through the trees, its whisper lulling them into deeper sleep. The night silence was occasionally broken by the hoot of an owl, a sound that had become as familiar to them as the hum of their own voices. Their muscles, taut from the day's march, began to relax under the weight of their fatigue. The rustle of leaves above them, a soft symphony in the darkness, blended with the quiet sighs of their comrades. A faint glow from the moon cast long shadows across their faces, painting a gentle silence over the scene. The distant rumble of thunder, a reminder of nature's indifference, faded into the night as sleep claimed them. In the dark of night, Soviet soldiers found their rest in foxholes, the cold earth surrounding them. They would dig these small pits to protect themselves from enemy fire, using whatever tools they had on hand. The archival photos show them huddled together for warmth, their breath visible in the frigid air. They wrapped themselves in blankets and coats, trying to block out the chill that crept into their bones. Despite the dangers lurking outside, they would close their eyes, the sound of distant gunfire and the whispers of their comrades lulling them into a fitful sleep. Their bodies ached from the day's march, the weight of their packs leaving deep impressions in their shoulders. They would lean against each other for support, the comfort of shared misery easing their pain. The scent of damp soil and wood smoke filled their nostrils, a strange mix of home and battlefield. Their hearts beat slowly, steadily, as if trying to match the rhythm of the night. Their worn boots, caked in mud and grime, pressed into the cold earth beneath them, providing little insulation from the frost that seeped through their thin soles. The wind, a relentless whisperer, swept over the lip of their foxholes, carrying with it the chill of the night and the distant echoes of combat. Their fingers, numb from the cold, clutched at the edges of their blankets, seeking any warmth they could find within the folds. The moon, a fickle ally, cast long shadows across their faces, its light filtering through the bare branches above, casting an eerie glow on their makeshift shelter. Night duty shifts were common among soldiers, requiring them to stay awake and alert during the night hours. They would huddle together in their foxholes, the cold earth beneath them offering little warmth against the biting chill of the night air. The darkness was not their friend. It hid dangers that could only be perceived by the keenest of senses. Eyes strained to catch any movement, ears perked up at the slightest sound, hoping it would not be the enemy approaching. They took turns standing watch, each soldier trying to remain vigilant as fatigue set in. The nights were long and tedious, filled with an eerie silence that could be shattered by sudden gunfire or the distant rumble of artillery. Their breaths became visible in the cold air, a sign of their discomfort and the harsh conditions they endured. A dull ache settled into their bones from the unyielding ground below, making it even harder to find comfort or rest. The darkness played tricks on their minds, turning shadows into potential threats, heightening their already tense state. Their eyes grew heavy with exhaustion, but the fear of what might lurk in the dark kept them from drifting off. Their fingers gripped the cold metal of their rifles, knuckles white from the tension. The wind howled softly through the trees, its whispers mimicking the rustle of unseen foes. Each inhale was a struggle as the frigid air burned their lungs. The faint glow of a cigarette briefly illuminated their faces, revealing eyes that held the weight of countless sleepless nights. The US Army has a long history of using various types of bedding and shelters for their soldiers. Enlisted men would find respite in the dark, cold nights within these makeshift homes. There are multiple paths for them, including active duty, Army Reserve, and Army National Guard. In World War II, the Army Surgeon General's office was there to provide services, tending to the wounded and weary. Soldiers would huddle together in their foxholes, trying to keep warm under blankets and whatever else they could find. The night brought dangers, but also moments of quiet rest. Routines were established, and sounds from the campfire would often be the last thing heard before drifting off to sleep. In this dark world, there was a deep appreciation for simple comforts. The rough wool of their blanket scratched against their skin, a familiar sensation that brought both discomfort and solace. Each breath visible in the chill air, they would draw closer to one another, bodies radiating heat like embers in the darkness. The soft rustle of leaves overhead echoed the distant hum of artillery fire, providing an unsettling lullaby. A tin cup of steaming coffee passed around, its warmth briefly chasing away the cold before sleep claimed them once more. Bodies pressed against each other. The weight of a fellow soldier was both comforting and uncomfortable. Eyes closed, they could still feel the vibrations from distant explosions through the earth beneath them. The smell of wood smoke clung to their clothes, a constant reminder of the campfire's warmth now lost. A soft snore here, a quiet sigh there, the sounds of sleep echoing in the night. In this moment of the day, called the dangers of the dark, we find soldiers in their foxholes. They are men and women engaged in military service, especially those in the army. Their foxholes offer little protection from the cold night air, a reminder of the discomfort they endure without modern heating. The ground beneath them is hard and unyielding, providing scant insulation against the chill that seeps into their bones. They huddle together for warmth, the sound of whispered conversations filling the air as they try to rest. The darkness around them is absolute, the only light coming from the faint glow of a distant campfire or the occasional flash of lightning in the night sky. Their routines are simple and repetitive, designed to conserve energy and preserve warmth. They wrap themselves tightly in their blankets, the rough material offering little comfort but providing a necessary barrier against the elements. Their breaths visible in the cold air, they lean against one another for support. The wind howls softly, its chill fingers tracing patterns on their exposed skin. Each shudder racks through them like a tremor, a reminder of their body's desperate attempt to generate heat. Their eyes close heavily, drawn into the night's embrace as if by an unseen force. Their hands clutch at their weapons, a futile attempt to ward off the cold's incessant gnaw. The damp earth clings to their uniforms, seeping into their clothes like an unwelcome guest. Their bodies ache with each exhale, each inhale a laborious task. The silence of their surroundings is broken only by the distant hoot of an owl, a solitary echo in the vast emptiness. Military sanitation was the army's way of keeping soldiers healthy and preventing disease spread during the night. The cold darkness brought unique challenges to this task, yet soldiers diligently followed routines designed to maintain cleanliness. Simple materials like water and soap were precious tools in their fight against germs. Every sound, from the scrape of a shovel to the rustle of cloth, carried with it the hum of necessity. The Army's commitment to sanitation was not just a directive, but an ingrained habit, guiding actions even in the most trying conditions. It ensured that soldiers, despite their hardships, stayed as healthy as possible under the night sky. This dedication extended beyond individual health, safeguarding the collective strength of the unit. Sanitation practices became a quiet, constant companion to soldiers in their foxholes, binding them together in the shared pursuit of well-being. The damp cloth, when dragged across a face, left trails of cool water that briefly awakened the senses. Each stroke was deliberate, as if etching away unseen threats. The faint glow of a lamp reflected off the metallic surfaces of canteens, casting long shadows that danced with the rhythm of scrubbing hands. In the silence, the gurgle of water being poured was a soothing soundtrack, a ritual repeated in countless corners of the camp. Every movement echoed a silent vow to preserve life amidst the darkness. The roughness of the cloth against skin was a reminder of the night's chill. The dampness lingered, clinging to surfaces like an unseen sentinel. Each breath carried the faint scent of soap, a comforting whisper in the dark. The rhythmic motion of hands was a lullaby, calming nerves as much as it cleansed. In Vietnam, soldiers often had to endure temperatures of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit during the dark hours. The heat was intense and unforgiving, clinging to their skin like a second layer. They would lie in their makeshift shelters, known as foxholes, trying to find respite from the oppressive warmth. Some even ventured into the tunnels, earning the nickname tunnel rats. The tunnels were narrow and cramped, offering little comfort but providing a slight reprieve from the heat above. They would listen to the distant sounds of the jungle, each rustle echoing in their ears as they tried to rest. The darkness was thick, enveloping them completely, making sleep a challenge but a necessity for survival. Despite the discomfort, they adapted, learning to find moments of tranquility amidst the harsh conditions. Their hearts pounded in their chests, each thud echoing through the tunnels, a constant reminder of the ever-present danger. Sweat trickled down their backs, soaking into their clothes, adding weight to the already heavy air. The musty smell of the earth filled their nostrils, a scent both comforting and unsettling. Their muscles ached with exhaustion, yet they remained vigilant, eyes straining in the darkness, ears tuned to the faintest whisper of sound. Their breaths came in shallow gasps, lungs burning from the humid air that seemed to steal away their strength. A faint breeze occasionally whispered through the tunnels, a fleeting relief that only served to highlight the stifling heat. The darkness played tricks on their minds, shapes appearing and disappearing like ghostly apparitions, keeping their senses on high alert. In spite of the discomfort, they found solace in the collective warmth, huddling together for comfort and safety. In the dim light of night, they would gather their daily rations, a pound of meat and fish, a pound and a half of flour or bread, half a pound of fat. They added to this 3 ounces of a pound of sugar, and 7 ounces of a cup of dried fruits or vegetables. Their meals were simple, but they provided essential nourishment in the cold, dark nights. Their hands, numbed by the chill, would carefully measure each ingredient, ensuring nothing was wasted in the sparse darkness. The fire, a mere ember now, cast long, dancing shadows across their faces as they worked. The simplicity of the meal meant it could be prepared with eyes barely open, a necessity on nights when sleep was elusive. In silence, they would portion out the rations, each bite to be savoured in the quiet solitude of the night. Their breaths visible in the frigid air, they would huddle closer to the dwindling fire, seeking what warmth remained. The quiet crunch of snow under their moccasins marked their slow movements. Each bite was a pause, a moment of respite amidst the relentless chill. The darkness seemed to thicken around them, as if to mirror the heaviness in their limbs. Their fingers, stiff and clumsy from the cold, would fumble with the rough cloth of their packs. The weight of each ration seemed to double in the still air, a silent struggle against the unforgiving night. Each step felt like a trek through fresh powder, the world muffled and distant. Their hearts beat slow and steady, conserving energy for the long hours ahead. Soldiers rested amidst devastating wreckage during Wurga. They would huddle together in makeshift shelters, the cold night air biting through their thin uniforms. The sounds of distant artillery echoed through the silent darkness, a constant reminder of the war's unpredictable nature. They tried to find comfort in the meager supplies they carried, using them as blankets or pillows against the hard ground. Their routines were simple but essential, checking their weapons, ensuring their boots were ready for sudden marches, and trying to steal moments of sleep amidst the chaos. The wreckage around them was a harsh reality of war, with broken buildings and discarded equipment serving as reminders of the battles fought. They learned to find rest in the most unlikely of places, always aware that dawn could bring new dangers. The faint scent of smoke lingered in the air, a constant companion in this world of ruin. The weight of their packs dug into their shoulders as they lay down, providing a grim comfort against the unyielding terrain. A soft whisper of wind through the torn canvas of their shelter brought fleeting moments of warmth before receding. Shadows danced on the walls of their makeshift home, cast by the flickering light of their small fire, offering both solace and eerie reminders of the night's possibilities. Their eyes grew heavy under the weight of exhaustion, but sleep was often elusive as they strained to hear any approaching threat. The dim light of their fire cast long, dancing shadows across their faces, accentuating the lines etched by war. Each breath in the chilled air felt like a struggle, yet they knew that rest was a necessity they couldn't afford to lose sight of. The faint rumble of distant engines could be heard from time to time, a subtle reminder of the world beyond their temporary haven. And that is how soldiers found their rest, night after night, long before our own comforts existed. Their nights are over now, and yours is just beginning. Sleep well.